Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
So Paul Gillespie and I, we did an interview a couple weeks ago, and we did the regular interview, and then we chatted for another, hour afterwards, and there was just lots of stuff in it, talking about my business, his business. I kind of hogged it. There's a lot about my business, so what's going on, stuff recent. But anyway, here is the second half of the interview. I wanted to split it up because I don't like releasing 40-minute long episodes. So this is the second chunk of the 40 minutes. Hope you like it. So the other thing, I was thinking about going down to Dayton, right? So in Dayton, they do a tax auction, like if you've heard my episodes on Birmingham, Alabama, or Gary, Indiana. They do like tax deed auctions, right? They have the auctions in Dayton, right? And I just want to find someone who's done it. I could go down there and really just completely wing it, but I saw some of them online that said they were going. These are some of the properties they're going to auction, and I'm like, I'd like to find someone that has some experience with the Dayton auctions. I'd like to go down there, and because I know from talking to Casey Ross, you can get in there you can get a list. So I'm like, instead of me just picking through what I've found from wholesalers and other people that have given me some of them, I'd like a real list. I'd like a real list. And I'm like, let's go down and buy some of these, right? I was looking at, there's some interesting ones that are showing up at this tax auction. There's a 16 unit, and I'm like, I bet you we could get this 16 unit for $100,000. I'm like, the numbers are crazy usually in Dayton. I'm like, and if I got it for 100 or even $200,000, I'm like, it's at a point where I could refinance easily. I could put financing on, no problem, right? It's the trick is that actually, I believe usually you have to close in cash on the day of the auction. So, coming up with $200,000 will not work for me. But maybe with the right joint venture partner that we could go down there and pick up something that we could literally close at auction prices and then put a mortgage on it in a week. Start the process right a week later and put a mortgage on, get all your money back. But I don't know.
These popcorn houses, I bought one for $2,500. That was the Ethel house. Now, it had some other issues that I pay, but I had a tax arrears that I was able to work out with the tax company to pay it off in 4 years. So it was I didn't have to put up all the cash for it. But
how much tax are they talking? $10,000?
No, it's $18,000 altogether. The house is worth 40 plus. It's in an area where there's $100,000+ houses, which is good. This one just for some reason got left behind, but I think altogether we have to put 25, not total cash, because some will be payments.
Yeah.
It'll rent for about $7 or $750, but I won't be able to burr that. It's just too little. So either I sell it as a turnkey or just kind of take the income.
If you can get it to a point where it appraised for $50,000, there's some lenders out there that you can bundle $50,000 houses together. Yeah. I had a lender that was willing to take my $42,000 property that I bought, and I got it appraised, and it appraised for $53,000. So it's a small thing, but at that time I'd only owned it for about 6 months, so it wasn't that's pretty good for 6 months. But they would take it into a blanket loan, and so you could, as long as you get enough of them, so you basically have to sit there until, I think their minimums were 100 and, was it 150? No, it was 250. Some of them are 150, but that lender was 250 in state, or across lines is 500. And so I was trying to do this $500,000 loan, which just turned into a nightmare, because same thing, your story. They started changing the deal criteria. They're like, you know what? You know that $75,000 loan to value? It's 65 now. Yeah. I have a signed contract. What do you mean it's 65 now? Yeah. They're like, no, you know what? It's a 65 now. And they're like, what's this paperwork worth? It's not even worth the ink it's printed on. I'm like, it's signed contracts from both sides. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we're just not doing it. We're not going to do it at 75. I'm like, okay, so what do we do then? Well, we need you to throw a few more houses in. Okay. Here's a few more houses. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, I found some new ones, undervalued. put them in the deal, and they were from a wholesaler.
Yeah.
You know what happened? We didn't close because they didn't have everything ready for the other one. We had 2 months to close, and we didn't close because they just didn't have all their ducks in a row. And it was like for the other parts, right? And I'm like, they're like, oh no, it's going to take us another 2 weeks. Just tell them we need a 2-week extension. Well, first it was 1 month. Then I asked for another month, and then I asked for 2 weeks, and they said after the second one, they're like, no, we were okay with when you did the first month extension. Yeah. We're not doing any more. They lost my earnest money. They walked away. It was totally the lender's fault. And then the lender's just like, oh, well then we actually are changing the deal criteria again. So we need you to put like 3 more houses in the deal to make this all work. Because they didn't want to actually give me any money. It was a cash out refi. But at the end, they were just basically making me fill it all in so that there was no money. It just went into more properties. Yeah. And I was like, the point of this was to get money. Yeah. And now, by the end of it, sure, I'm going to get an extra 5 houses, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted some more money. Right. So it was just, I ended up walking away.
Well, it's funny you say that because the Daytona property was the same. We're buying that, and we were going to do a refinance and cross over. So the money for the refinance, a portion would go to the Daytona, and then get the rest. Well, then all of a sudden it went from a 75% loan to now the same thing, 65%. And I said, what? I just lost money here somehow. So we actually pulled out. I said, well, forget it. You're not doing my refinance then. Just buy the Daytona property. And I went with the guy in California, and he was able to secure a 75 with a lot less trouble. Now, mind you, we still don't have it, but it's approved. But like you said, in the States,
what kind of interest rate did you get on your 75? Because I've got a couple now of like soft approvals for 75, but the rates got higher on those.
Yeah, no, this one was not a good one. This one was 8. Okay, 8, and it pays but they pay the broker. I don't pay him. There's no points or nothing. So the rate's not great. And he said we could get it lower with points. And then we're kind of like, well,
it depends how long you're going to keep it. I should see if I can find it. So I made a spreadsheet because I had the same thing. You could pay down with points, right? Yeah. And so it's like, I was like, do I pay points? And then I could get the 6% rate. Yeah. Or I could leave it the way it was, and I'd be at 7.5, right? And so, like, basically pay it up front or pay it later. And I did the spreadsheet for it. I'm like, well, as long as I own it for 2.8 years, it makes sense to pay down the points. So I thought, I'm going to pay the points down. It makes this makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah. Except that now I've had that property for I don't know, 2 months, and I want to refinance. Because they basically had me in a corner because I needed to refinance because I needed to pay off another mortgage. I did a mortgage, an 18-month mortgage. Yeah. And so I had to pay off this 18-month mortgage. So I needed to get the money that was supposed to happen from a flip that turned into a buy and hold. But we're going to burr it, but we couldn't burr it because we had a title issue. And so, I went, okay, I gotta put money in a different property then. Yeah. And that's why I did this refinance to get the money to go to my indie property to pay it off. So now it's just like juggling. So I pay off the indie property, but now I got to find a mortgage for the indie property. I'm like, now I got this note here and note there, and I'm like, okay, now it just goes through the whole thing, and you're like, okay, now the next one, now the next one. So
it really is a juggling act. That's what we're finding now because, like I said, that Daytona property is closing, hopefully or not, December. This is like the second extension, and our refinancing looks like it'll come. He said, I'm hoping the 6th, but realistically probably 9th or 15th. So it's like, okay, now we're gonna have to take Canadian money, funnel it down, and then if I use the U.S. to come back, I'm just going to lose money on this transaction, like going back and forth.
Yeah. Are you using like what are you using to transfer your money? You're not using like a bank, are you? Because like have you used like Knightsbridge or have you used like the currency exchange or like the The ones
No,
in the mall.
what's a good one? What's a good one to use? Do you have a?
So I've just switched completely to Knightsbridge.
Let me write
And yeah, so it's that one. It made me nervous off the start because it's all online.
Yeah.
It's a Knightsbridge FX. They're in Toronto, is where they're located,
Okay.
and they just do
Knightsbridge, like Nigh.
yeah,
Okay.
like a guy with a sword. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
like KN. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Knightsbridge FX, and but basically what you do, which is what made me so nervous, is you do, depending who you bank with, it's different between different banks. Because if I send money from Tangerine, RBC, or is it Scotia, you just do a bill payment to them and go. Or the other ones you have to do like a draft and send them money. I don't know. There's different ways of doing it anyway. But I was doing it where you just do a bill payment to them, and so it's kind of makes you uncomfortable because it's like you're in the bill payment section of your banking to send them money, and you're like, it's a bill payment. Like, am I the first time? Like, is this really going to work, or did I just give them like $50,000, right? And then they just transfer it into. So with me, I was using Royal Bank, so I had a Royal Bank Canadian account in Canada. Royal Bank U.S. account in Canada, and so they would just move the money, bill payment to them, and then they deposit it into your other account, and boom, and then I could transfer it to RBC in Georgia, right?
What's the rate? Is the rate good or?
Oh, it's really good. So if you look on your phone to see what it's the money's trading at for the day, it'll be like 0.3 or 0.5 above that, whereas a bank will be 3% or 2%. So it's only like 0.3 or 0.5%. So it's phenomenally less. Like you do the transfer, you'll like save yourself, I don't know, depending on how much you're transferring, but like $500 on a transfer, right? It's that much cheaper. And the other thing what I used to do off the start was I just go to the currency exchange at the mall, and you just go in there, and they would do basically a similar rate to Knightsbridge. They actually have really good rates. So the trick is you go in and you say, I'd like to do, or call them ahead of time. I'd like to do a large transfer to the States, right? And can you call the trading floor in Toronto, and get me the rate? And they'll get you a better rate than the posted rate. And so then they get you a posted rate or a better rate than the thing, and then you just show up with your money. Back then I'd go, whichever bank I had the money at, I'd go to Scotiabank or whatever, get a draft, walk in and get it addressed to the currency exchange, hand them the check, and then they would, depending on what I wanted, they would give me a check back in US, or they would wire straight to title or straight to my bank account, whatever I wanted to. And their wire fees are way cheaper than the bank. So banks cost you like $25, and usually an extra 20 just disappears in the ether on the way to go in there, whereas they charge like $7, I think it was.
Wow.
So and so you're like, it's not like huge, but the interest rate on the exchange was better, and then it just shows up down there.
It adds up, man. So if you're making multiple deals, it makes a difference.
Exactly.
Currency exchange and Knightsbridge FX. Okay.
Yeah, so the currency exchange, like the local one, they change names everywhere. I use the one in Waterloo. I've used the one in Guelph. And it doesn't really matter what they are. They're all pretty good. I wouldn't use one at the airport because they always have terrible rates. But
That's
awesome.
That's good. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. And with Knightsbridge, I love it because I'm like, hey, I need to send them money, and I just like grab my phone and it just, you get it all from your phone. It's all on your phone. Oh, I just need to send an email money or a bill payment. There it goes to them, and then it shows up like a half day later or whatever in your account.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Or sometimes if I'm in a rush with Knightsbridge, I'll do the thing to them, and then I'll get them to wire straight to title. Or if I'm not in a rush, I usually go from my Canadian to my Canadian U.S. account, and then I'll send money to my corp, and then from the corp to the other thing. Then you end up paying an extra $50 in wire fees, right, from service.
Well, the fourplex I just did, she didn't care. She's one that she was so good to me. She went and paid a $2,600. The tax company was giving us trouble for this other house in Evansville, in Dayton, and I said, Kristen, can you help me out here? Can you? I'll wire you money. She goes, yeah, no problem. I'll pay the $2,600. It was like, I've never even met her, so I don't even really know her. And she was just so trusting. I said, I really appreciate, and I sent her the money right away. But so I bought the fourplex from her, and she said, yeah, just get a Canadian notarized. So I went to, there's one in Walmart. I think it's called Essex or something like that, but they charge like $25.
That's not bad, right? And you probably don't have to. You don't probably don't have to get an appointment either with my notary. If I want to go see the lawyer, $50, and I gotta go by their schedule and show up at a certain time in the middle of the day, which is really inconvenient.
Yeah. This one was easy. The one in Memphis, I actually had to go to New York State, and I coming back over the border. Americans didn't give me any trouble. Coming over the border, I just said, look, I went to visit a friend. What are you visiting him for on Friday afternoon? I'm like, it's the only time I said, what kind of question is that? What do you mean? What does it matter what day it is? But they're giving me a hard time coming back. I'm like, you can check the car. I think I got like a protein bar or something. That's all I got, you know. Anyways, it was kind of funny, but that's good. Yeah. But that's cool. You have a good relationship. You can just kind of get it over.
Yeah, so like he does all my taxes. He's been doing it for years, right? And he does everything. So he just.
I need a friend like that.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's
cool. Anyway, we've been talking for almost an hour.
Sorry, man.
No, it's not. I'm not really doing anything. My kids are asleep anyway.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this. Like, I haven't stopped my recorder.
Yeah.
Like, I have to go through this, but I wonder if we could actually turn this into 2 episodes. We talked about some good stuff, I think, afterwards.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I know you said one address in there, so I cut the address out, and I think that's it. I don't think that you really said anything bad.
Yeah. No. Put it on.
If you want, I can send it to you ahead of time to look it over if you want. It's because we weren't planning to record.
I try. What? You do whatever you think is right. It's good as long as it's information and people, especially those people on the fence, right? There's so many people that are like I was, where I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm scared, and this and that. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you get over, it's like, what was I scared about? Nothing to be scared about, you know?
To go across to the U.S., you're like, people are like, oh, but I haven't figured out how to do it all. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, if you really don't know what you're doing, just put it in your own name. You can do a quick claim deed to your corp later, right? Like, and like, I did that. One of the lenders, I was buying that same property, I was buying it from Wells Fargo, and they required it to be sold to a person, not a corporation. Yeah. So I put it in my name, and then when I refinanced it, I did a quick claim deed. I think they're like $150.
Yeah.
And I moved it into my corporation. You're like, big deal. You're like, I was technically exposed for a short period of time, but I'm not that concerned about it.
No.
So yeah, I'm like,
I know.
And that's like, if you don't know what you're doing at all, just buy in your own name. It's like, and then you're like, what is there to figure out? Well, an ITIN number, you only need that for taxes, so you have a whole year to figure that out. Yeah. And a corporation, you could, cost you an extra $150 to move it over later. And you're like, so what else is different? Well, if you're using it, depending on like the way I started with using a turnkey operator, they're going to give you the property manager and all that other stuff, right? Like there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, right.
And then, if you aren't starting right from scratch, I would recommend to at least work with somebody who's in that. Get a referral to somebody. Like, don't go finding your property manager off Craigslist or something.
Yeah, actually, it's funny that way. I met just this young girl, just the sweetest girl. She was almost like a sister. I felt like I knew her, And I met her in Utah, and I can't believe the maturity of it. She's 19. I couldn't. When I looked at what I was 19, I was like, whatever, but she's got it all together. She's like, this is my goals. This is what I'm doing. So we're kind of teaming up together. And I told her, I said, just let's get started. Just let's get started, and you'll figure it out as you go. I'll help you along the way, but we just get started. Like, that's the biggest thing is, if I was to give anybody advice, is get moving. Stop standing. Stop doing nothing. Just do it. Just get going. Right.
Yeah. The worst excuse is that, I'm going to wait for the market to crash or correct, and you're like, it might happen. It'll probably have at least a correction. Everywhere will. Even in Canada, it's going to have some sort of correction, but it's not going to be like massive like anything like in the past. But they're waiting for that. I'm like, if you bought a property that's cash flowing really well, then it doesn't matter. Like, what do you like? you look at these things like the longest one, like what that 2009 crash or 8 crash, whatever you want to say where it started.
Yeah.
It only lasted like 7 years,
Yeah.
and that was like massive. You could have broke even in 7 years. You're like, well, it's 7 years. If you have a place that cash flows really well, just don't sell it.
Yeah.
And that's the worst. Like, I do not expect that that's happening.
Yeah.
To that extent again.
Yeah.
But also, like, you look at where the markets we're in, right? Your Ohio and Memphis, Florida might take the hit, but like they go way up and way down, right? But Ohio and Memphis, they're like slow, steady. It's gonna you're not gonna lose your money. Like, there are similar markets to Indy, and I studied Indy a lot, and basically when it had the correction, it went down a little. Like, oh, my house went down $4,000 or $5,000. You're like, who cares? You're like, I'm not selling it. It's only $5,000. You're like, it's not like it was, some of those places you're talking to California, New York, Florida, where I lost like a third of my property price. You're like, well, that sucks. That sucks. Yeah. But,
it's funny talking about that because one of the brokers, when I talked to him, he thought I only had the one property. And probably when I did talk to him, I did. I only had the Clearwater property. But talk to him like a month later, massive things have happened, like quickly. And he goes, wow, he said, Paul, that really changes everything. He actually said, you built a track record. And now I can go back to these lenders. You're not only one property, now you're 6 and going on 7 to 8. He says, huge. He says, this is going to work in your favor. And he says, the more you get, you're going to see that it's going to really work. And I was just like, wow, I never thought of that. But yeah, that makes sense.
No, it's true because it'll change your interest rate too. Because they're like, basically they'll post, those email blasts you get from the lenders. They're like, oh yeah, we can do a hard money loan for 5.5 or something like that. But you're like, okay, well, you're Canadian?
Yeah.
Or you're using an ITIN? Boom. Or like no social, no credit score, dupe. And they're like, oh, no experience, dupe. And it's just one of those things you're like, oh, well, you do have some experience. So now they're not going to add that, 3/4 of a point on, so it just like, it starts, even without getting any sort of fancy visas or anything, you're still it gets better as you go, right? Just with experience points.
Yeah. That's what I'd say for people. What do you wait? Like, don't wait because you're right. The market probably going to correct itself, but that's fine. You're prepared. You have things in place so you can actually capitalize on more. That you have a track record. That's the best advice. And everybody that comes to me and I looking at possible partners, I always tell them, let's start walking. Let's start the process because once you start going. What is that? The rock, the collects no moss, right? Like the rolling rock collects no moss.
Yeah.
The saying like that, and I believe that, and that's me. I'm a rock rolling, and I always tell them just.
Oh yeah, and what is it? The things put in motion stay in motion, right? The physics thing. And so, and you like people like fluff it off like, oh, that's just words people say, but until you actually do it, you're like, as soon as you like go down, like we went to. Kansas City, and we were looking at one property, and as soon as they heard there are these Canadian buyers in town, they were looking at buying like a lot of houses.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was just like, oh, here's some more seller finance deals. Here's other ones, and there was nothing before we got there. But it's like all of a sudden they're like, oh, they're here and there's stuff. Let's get them into these houses. It just it moves, right? And you're like, same thing. You start buying some of these houses, and then you talk to some wholesalers, and like, oh, that's the guy that's buying that other house. Oh, let's get him on our list. Let's get him moving him up too, right?
Yeah. That's what I try to tell them too, because for me, like I said, we had the one house in Florida for a long time until we made the decision to really say, for me, I got a light bulb went off. And I just said to my wife, I said, I'm ready to run. Just hang on. Just we're going. And she just hangs on, and then we're running. And, in a short time, it's not boasting at all. It's just what's happening is what we're doing. We're just doing the process. We're collecting good cash flow, and going to have some nice refinances coming up, and just turning 2 to 4 to 4 to 8, and it's awesome. It's all from movement. It really is all from movement and learning as I go, and making some mistakes and learning from them, and but just continuously to not stop and just keep going.
Yep.
Rushing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rushing. I'm just moving. I'm just moving.
Yep. You're not going to know all the answers, so you'll figure them out as you go. You figure them out. Cool. All right. I'm going to go call this a night. I'm going to with the wife a little bit before I go to sleep. So, cool. That was a great chat, though. I think there's lots of stuff. I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, probably at least 2 episodes.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I said, if it can help anybody, that'd be awesome. That's a good feeling.
Oh yeah, especially when we get spitballing and talking all kinds of stuff. I think there's lots in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing is like whenever you're just like off the cuff, it comes out so much nicer to you.
That's cool.
When you're actually less organized here and there. But I don't know, it's kind of a little cleaner. But I'm like, if I'm in a rush, I just be like straight to title. The podcast I did with Matt Geertz, one of the very first ones.
Yeah.
He was really like nervous to do it.
Yeah.
And what happened was he's like, let's just get on the phone and then or on the we were using Zoom back or Skype back then. Yeah. Let's get on Skype and we'll just sort of talk about it. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, so what's your business like? And we just talked and we did the whole thing. And then I was like, okay, I think we got a show. And he's like, well, that wasn't the show. I was just telling you about my business and what I'm trying to do. And I'm like, and he's like, well, re-record the show. And I'm like, no, like it was natural. It was off the cuff. It came out so well. I'm like, that's the episode. And he's just like, well, I didn't do my hair. I'm like, nobody's gonna care.
That's funny. I like that. Good.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, I'm gonna let you go. You're one of those guys I'll talk to all night.
All right.
All right. I'll see you later.
All right, buddy. Take care.
So, Paul, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, definitely email me. I am looking for investment partners. I brought on 2 people so far, and I am looking for more that want to make something of this and make a good cash flow. So the best way is P_Gillespie, which is GILLESPIE 55 @yahoo.com.